Hey guys, today we're talking about adding and subtracting decimals, so this should be the title of your video. Okay, so in our first example, I want you to make sure that even though it might be written like this, we line them up. So let's line up the decimal points. 528 doesn't have a decimal point, so we're going to turn it into a decimal. Just turn that whole number into a decimal by putting a decimal point and following with that decimal point with some zeros. This is not changing this number. By putting a decimal point, that means I still have 528. I'm just saying I have 0 hundredths. Okay, so now I'm going to add 7 and 49 hundredths to that. 0 and 0 plus 49 gives me 49 hundredths still. 8 and 7 make 15, so I have 5 ones and 1 10. Bring that 1 10 over. 1 plus 2 makes 3 tens, or 30. And I have no hundreds to add together, so 535. Please make sure that you have this one written down in your notebook. Okay, you should have paused and wrote that one down. Now we're going to try number 2. Okay, let's line these decimal points up. So my first step is to literally line it up. 5.649 and 39 and 27 hundredths. So my decimal point lines up here, ones, tens, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay, don't forget to carry and regroup if you need to. I'm going to put a 0 here just so that way I know that this is 9 plus 0 equaling 9. And 4 plus 7 gives me 11. So I put down the ones place, bring the other one from the 11, the tens, over here to these. 1 and 6 make 7, plus 2 makes 9. 5 and 9 make 14, so put down my 4. Think of that 1 as being the 10. 10 plus 30 equals 40. So I get 44 and 919 thousandths. Make sure that you remember their last name. These are the thousandths. So we have a specific way of saying decimals. If we're going to subtract, we follow the same rules. Line up at the decimal point and subtract as usual. 8 and 97 hundredths minus 2 and 82 hundredths. 7 minus 2 is 5 hundredths. And then 9 minus 8 is 1 tenth. And 8 ones minus 2 ones is 6 ones. Bring down your decimal point. Okay, make sure you have this one in your notebook as well. Go ahead and pause and write that one down if you need to. Actually, everybody needs to. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, I want you to try this one, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Don't forget to line up the decimal points and borrow and regroup if you need to. Okay, so here we go. If I look at 16 and 34 hundredths, and I'm trying to subtract 3 and 18 hundredths, I'm looking at the hundredths place first. 8 cannot be subtracted from 4. So I have to borrow from the 3 and make these 2 tenths and make this 14 hundredths. So 14 minus 8 gives me 6. 2 minus 1 gives me 1. 6 minus 3 gives me 3. 1 minus nothing gives me 1. So 13 and 16 hundredths. Here's the pretty version if you like that one better. Okay? Nice and colorful. All right, let's look at another one. What do you do if you have 3 and 8 tenths minus 1 and 26 hundredths? I can't take hundredths away from tenths, but I can think of it as an 80, okay? So an 8 tenths and 0 hundredths, so 80 hundredths. Stick a 0 there so you can borrow and regroup. All right, now I want you to try this problem in your notebook. Make sure you label it number 5. Make sure that you have these two versions written down, the crossways and then lined up. Okay, you should have paused the video and tried this. I'm going to show you what I did. I took and I borrowed a 10 from the 8 to make it a 7, and I made the 0 into a 10. Now I can subtract 6 from 10 and get 4. 7 minus 2 is 5, bring down my decimal point, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, let's do a couple more where we try them. Go ahead and add or subtract these for me, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. I should see 6, 7, and 8 in your notebook. Don't forget, the first step is to line them up. So I'm going to do that right now for the first one, so you remember to do this. And then you can add in, you can put a 0 here for placeholder. So you can think of adding it like that. All right, I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did, so make sure you pause. Okay, on this one, I added 5 and 0 and got 5. 5 and 3 make 8, and 0 and 0 make 0. So I have 85 hundredths. Down here, line them up and make sure that you put your zeros there for place values. So this isn't 2 tenths anymore, it's 200 thousandths because we're subtracting thousands. So 4 minus 0 is 4, 8 minus 0 is 8, 7 minus 2 is 5. Bring down your decimal point so you don't forget it. 9 minus 7 is 2, and we are done. Okay, and the next one, line them up and put your 0 for placeholder. We need to regroup this into a 3 and a 10 because I can't subtract 4 from 0. So I get 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. And then over here, I've got to regroup again. I got to think of this as a 12 minus 8, which is 4. Or you can regroup and borrow, which still is the same thing. 12 minus 8, which is 4. So 4 and 6 hundredths because it's the hundredths place. And that's all I have for you today. See you next time.